Hello guys, good to see you back. Again I'm back with a new tutorial related JavaScript DOM. And in this tutorial we are going to learn JavaScript insert adjacent methods. In our previous tutorial we learned two JavaScript append methods, append child and insert before. It is used to append existing element and text node to a parent element. Append child always places the element at the last position. And to use insert before we need to specify a position. And this method append the element before the specified position. We already learned about it in our previous tutorial. After that, we have insertAdjacentElement, insertAdjacentHTML, and insertAdjacentText. These three methods also used to append the element. But there is a difference between these three methods and these two methods. Our previous two methods is only used for append purpose. It can append the existing element, otherwise text element, in the parent element. It cannot create the element. It is used to only append the element. But our last three methods can create the element, also append the element. I want to say, if you use these methods, then you don't need to use create element method and create text node method. So before start the practical, let's try to understand what is the difference between all of these three methods. Suppose you want to create a HTML tag, with the same time you want to append it. I want to create this paragraph tag, and at the same time I want to append it. For that we need to use this method, insertAdjacentElement. If we use this method, at the same time it creates the element, also it append the element. But if you want to create tag and text node at the same time, in that case you need to use this method, insertAdjacentHTML. Here you can see we create a paragraph, also insert the text node inside this paragraph. Using this method we can create text node, we can create element, also we can append the element. We can do three tasks at once. And if you want to create a simple text node, for that you can use insertAdjacentText method. This method can create the text, also it can append the text. So you already familiar with that. What can I do with these methods? With that, also we can provide a specific position. So let's try to understand the position where we can position our elements and text nodes. And the positions are before begin, after begin, before end, and after end. We have total 4 different positions. So let's try to understand the positions more clearly. Suppose we have a div container, and inside this div container we have a text. And now we need to create this text node with h1 element. And also we need to append this element inside this div. Now if we use before begin position, in that case it's going to append the element before the div start. And if I use after begin position, in that case then it's going to append the element at the first position inside the container. And if I use after end position, then it's going to append the element after end of this container. And if you use before end position, in that case it's going to append this element in that position. Inside this div container, it's going to position it last place. So this is how we can use this position. So without wasting your time, let's start the practical and see how we can use it. So as you can see, side by side I open my Visual Studio Code editor and my browser using live server extension. And I already created an HTML document named index.html. With that I create a JavaScript file, main.js. And I also link this file with this HTML page, main.js. Also you can see we have a div element in our body tag. And I set an ID to this div element, which is text. And inside this div element we have a paragraph. So we are going to start our practical with insertAdjacentElement. So let's jump into the main.js file. For that I'm going to create an element. So here I'm going to type var, and our variable name is new element equal to, here I'm going to create a heading element. So here I'm going to type document dot create element, and inside the round braces I want to create a heading to element. So here I press H2, then semicolon to end this line. And now I'm going to create a text node, because we need to insert the text node inside this heading element. So here I'm going to type var, and our variable name is new text equal to document dot create text node create text node. Inside the round braces, I'm going to pass a random text. I'm going to type hello world and semicolon to end this line. So we create an element and a text node, and now we need to append this text node inside this element. But before, I'm going to explain what is insertAdjacentElement. And now we need to create a target. So first, I'm going to create a target. I want to target this div element. If I show you my index.html file, as you can see, in this div, we set an ID test. So I copy the ID name test and back to the main.js file, and here I'm going to type var, and our variable name is target, equal to document dot get element by ID. Inside the round braces, our ID name test and semicolon to end this line. So we create the target element where I want to append this h2 element. And now I'm going to use insertAdjacentElement. So I'm going to type target dot insertAdjacentElement inside the round braces, inside the double quotes. Here we need to pass total 2 parameters. First, we need to pass the position, where we want to put the element. So I'm going to assign the position, and I'm going to type before begin. And in our second parameter, we need to pass the element name. So here I'm going to type new element. So I copy the variable name new element and I'm going to paste it here. And semicolon to end this line. If I save this file, it's not going to reflect in our web page because we do not append the text node in this element. But if I show you my element section, here you can see inside this body, before this div element, we have h2 element. And if I show you my index.html file, as you can see, before the div element, we don't have any h2 element. We have h1 element. But in my element section, you can see the element name, h2. And now I'm going to append this text node in this element. For that, we need to type new element dot, we need to use append child method. Append child inside the round braces, the variable name, new text. Semicolon to end this line. If I save this file, now you can see the result. Now you can see in my browser, it append the new element before this div element. Now you can see our element is outside of this element. But if I change the position, so I'm going to duplicate this line and comment out previous one. And here I'm going to type after begin. After begin. If I save this file, you can see the result. Now it's append the new element beginning of this div. And now I'm going to talk about our new method, which is insertAdjacentHTML. For this method, we don't need to create HTML element and text node. So I'm going to comment out both of this line. Also, I don't need append child method. So I'm going to comment out it again. Just we need the target element and our method. And now I'm going to call the method name. So here I'm going to type target.insertAdjacentHTML. So I'm going to replace element with HTML. Then in our first parameter, we need to pass the position. In our second parameter, we need to pass the element and the text node at once. Let me show you. So inside the double quotes, I'm going to type h2. Also, I'm going to close this tag, h2. And here I'm going to type hello world. And I'm going to save this file. After save this file, as you can see, it's written the same result. Just using this method, we can create the text node, we can create the element, also we append the element at this position. So we successfully insert this element at this position. So this is the usage of insertAdjacentHTML method. At first we target the div element and store it in this variable named target. Then we apply this method to this div and in this function, first we pass the position, then we pass the text node and the element. And if you want to change the position, yes you can. So I'm going to type after end. And after set this file, you can see the result. Now it add the element after end of this div. So one by one, you can check out the positions. So if we use this method, we can skip this 3 line. This is the benefit of using this method, insertAdjacentHTML. We don't need to create the element, we don't need to create the text node, and also we don't need to append the text node in this element. We can do the same thing in a single line. Now, let's talk about our last method, which is insertAdjacentText. Basically, this function creates text node and append it, nothing else. So, I'm going to duplicate this line and comment out previous one. And here I'm going to type insertAdjacentText. And in our second parameter, I'm going to pass a simple text, hello world, not the element name. If I save this file, you can see the result. Here you can see, after end of this div, it add the text, hello world. If I show you my element section and body section, as you can see, after end of this div, it add the text, hello world. So this is the usage of all of these three insert methods. I hope now it's clear for you. And if you want to change the position one by one in your first parameter, you can change the position. I don't want to make this topic more complex. I want to keep it as much as simple as that. And in the next tutorial, we will learn how we can replace the existing element. Also, we can remove the existing element. So this is it for this tutorial. Stay tuned for our next tutorial. Thanks for watching this video.